Hello and welcome back to the exciting conclusion of the European Open, a prestigious tournament with the best players in the world and over 5,000 people in the gallery spectating. Incredible show out at the Nokia Disc Golf Park on the Beast layout. This is round 4 back 9 MPO chase card coverage brought to you by MDG Media. I'm Connor Wood, and with me, Elias Luukkonen.
What is up, Connor? What is up, viewers? Nice to be here once again. Looking at this tight battle that we have. Look at the leaderboard. Anthony Barella leading by only one stroke over Kyle Klein and Ezra Aderhold from our card after a great front nine. Within a couple of strokes from there, Corey Ellis and once again Eagle McMahon from our card. It's pretty much anybody's game. You know, on this back nine there's a lot of stroke swings to be happen. And already starting on hole 10. Although it is one of the easier holes on the back nine. 230 meters, a long par 4 but playing downhill off the tee. With a tee shot you're trying to hit this gap between the birch trees. You can see the OB lining the left side and further down the fairway the right and long. If you get your approach or if you get your drive perfectly between the birch trees with good distance, you're gonna have only about 100 to 110 meters left to the basket. Near the basket the OB is getting even tighter with the hay bales on the right side. Lining the OB only about 4 meters from the basket.
So we'll have Eagle get us started here. He does play the power hyzer. A lot of players opting for a more straight shot with overstability. Eagle with the hyzer release, very high up with the understable disc, and catches the very last tree. Filters through though to the good side, and he'll be left with about 90 or so meters spike hyzer to the green. We'll see if Väinö gets any sort of read on the conditions from Eagle here.
That's a good adjustment there, fading well before the branches of the tree, perfectly in the middle. It's pretty much a regular drive. You can see Väinö not going for a lot of distance, rather just playing it into the middle. That's what a lot of people do on this hole. You do not want to risk the OB off the drive.
Ezra with a slightly more traditional line, also fading well before the tree and more of that low straight driven shot with a touch more overstability. Interesting to see how players choose to get this straight to left fading distance shot. Their preferred angles. Mauri also hanging out the right side, fading at the right time and in the right spot. Those are 4 drives that will leave all of our players with a chance still at birdie. They will have various difficulties of upshot remaining. We see Eagle actually so close to the tree. He still has a low ceiling and some branches to contend with, although I think he's walking just out from under them. He's going to blast this power hyzer over the OB right side, crash it into the left where it's safe. And even a fortunate little curl up. He is about 7 or 8 meters, and his putting has been good so far this round. Väinö now.
Scary shot here over the OB, over the gallery even. You can see Väinö also playing it safer towards the left side. Have that wall, you can usually hit the wall and take a small bounce backwards towards the basket. This time not a very big one though, as we see Väinö is up the hill. Gonna have a 10 meter tester putt towards OB. And Ezra with the great line here. Get almost a leaner against the pole. He's absolutely parked. And chasing that lead, he was only 1 back before this hole. So might even be tying the lead after this one.
Oh, and Mauri almost even throwing it in. A great precise control of his approach shot there. All 4 of our players are with 2 very nice shots, leaving themselves all a look at birdie. Väinö with the longest remaining putt down towards OB. And you see they're just a little bit low, potentially, due to that danger behind the basket. We see Eagle now going laterally across the hill, and he hits that center pole. He's been very solid on the green all day. That classic Eagle McMahon floaty putt straight to the heart of chains. Both Mauri and Ezra parked for their birdies. They'll be taking stress-free threes. Smooth shot from Ezra to get that buttery smooth ground play up to the pin.
Yep.
Väinö simply tapping in for a par.
And talking about Eagle a little bit more, I believe that was his 4th birdie in a row. So he's on a bit of a heater right now. Obviously Ezra as well. Let's see if they can continue it here on this much more difficult of a hole. Hole 11, 131 meters. It's a big hyzer shot for these guys. You can see the OB left and right, but mostly from all of the OB coming into play is this pond. Ideally you have to play the hyzer line just over the pond, hopefully fly over the pond and just take a small skip up to the basket. Many players ending up a little bit left. And actually today this hole was playing into a headwind, so you need to pick something pretty overstable to fight that. And what a wide line from Eagle here.
Even accessing the backside around that island of guardian trees, navigating the pond and all of the obstacles nicely, has found himself in the circle, going out really wide, as you mentioned. We'll see Ezra's line now. Also playing the width, but that wind potentially flipping it up to flat, and this is not coming back in time. As he goes wide out into the gallery, we'll be left with still a long look, as that did not cross anywhere near in bounds further up the fairway. Mauri now with a chance to get a read on that wind.
Plays it well more inside than the previous 2 players. Good break actually, hitting that tree and not fading left OB. And Väinö here trying to make a correction. This looks good. Maybe a little bit inside still. Wow, he gets it around the tree and that's in the circle. What a great shot from Väinö Mäkelä. Still not getting the CTP though after Eagle's massive hyzer around the outside.
Ezra still with a lot of work left, shaping this turnover backhand beautifully down that very tight tunnel. And he's fired just a little bit long, but will be left with a putt coming back. Although, for bogey, that's a difficult range. Mauri simply pitching up, taking his 3, no damage done. Hole 11, one of the hardest on the course, averaging 3.41, almost a half stroke above par. And Ezra with an amazing bid that is just centimeters too low into the headwind. Väinö also with a misfire on the green off the cage. I'm not sure if he even snuck his way OB.
Yeah, Väinö has gone OB with the putt. I have never seen that before. Eagle with the great birdie there, pushing possibly 1 stroke closer to the lead. But wow, what a crazy turn of events. Ezra, after being arguably tied for the lead, and getting a double bogey, and Väinö even after the great drive gets a single bogey.
We see Ezra here to tap in. He will fall to 27 under. Eagle sneaking into the lead on our chase card at 28 under, going birdie on this back 9. Hole 11 actually only had 8% of the field take a birdie, with 48% par and 40% bogey, playing well over par. One of the most difficult holes, but it doesn't slow down. We move to hole 12.
Hole 12 on the other side of the park. It's a pretty long walk to this hole, par 4. Another one of these 180 meter par 4s. Off the tee you have that high floor with a low ceiling. You need to finish straight with or need to fly straight with a rightwards finish on the drive. Very suiting for a low forehand or a backhand roller. And from the perfect drive, if you get good distance off the tee, it's a pretty simple approach to this green with a good backstop. We even might see some runs for the eagle if we see good drives here.
And eagle, he did it in the previous round as well, but just laying down absolute heat on this fairway, even despite hitting that tree and losing some distance. An incredible drive there, going with the aggressive roller under stability, shaping nicely against the slope to ensure that rightwards finish, which you touched on, Elias. And Mauri, I would expect to probably play the forehand, has a great command of the forehand hyzer and a good control with the drivers. Just a bit nose up.
Yep, nice angle there, but a little bit inside, and as you said, nose up. Very important to keep that forehand low to the hillside. That's kind of why the roller is, I would say, a bit more of an easier shot on this hole. As you see, Väinö also going with an extremely understable disc. Getting a perfect angle. He's going down the fairway, almost matching eagle. Not quite, but he's also going to have a pretty simple approach.
Yeah, great benefit to have a good aim and touch on that roller. Quite a few of these par 4s in the woods do benefit from that long, low movement. And Ezra as well with the forehand gets a little bit further than Mauri, although still not able to complete the full flight. This low ceiling coming into play, and you can see from this angle exactly the restricted height that these guys are playing with. They need to push it as much as possible to get the distance, especially Mauri and Ezra, who are further back. You see him find another connection with the trees. We'll see if Ezra can find the height, able to go backhand approach to the green on the inside line. Perhaps not intentional there, catching those heavy branches. It's still Ezra now, his third shot.
That was a disappointing shot for sure. It was a low ceiling, but other than that, not a very difficult shot from where he was. That is a good one though, almost running for the basket. But that is kind of what you can do on this hole. It's a very good backstop. Inside the circle, well inside the circle. And Väinö also, good touch forehand there. Should be good for the birdie. And let's see if eagle actually give this a bit of a run. He's only got 45 meters left.
And only 7 holes remaining here. I think that had a lot of height considering how close he was. He could have easily kept it lower to the ground if he didn't want that one at least a little bit.
Mauri also going a little bit long on this one. Fortunate to stay out of those bushes. The bushes on the left side of the green, right side from this angle, are very thick, and if you're down there, you're pretty much screwed. Yes, so they're good par putt. Important, especially after that double bogey, to still keep his composure, because he still has to fight for those finishing positions. And eagle, looks like eagle is going to push his score with the 6th birdie in a row on this hole. What a great run from eagle.
Incredible. We see Väinö there tapping in his birdie. Very nicely thrown on both the tee shot and the approach for 6 in a row. Hey, he's the man. Eagle absolutely crushing it right now. We saw both Ezra and Mauri able to secure the pars despite some imperfect shots. Not too much damage.
Moving on to a similar feeling hole, although it's slightly different. Hole 13, similar distance, and once again you have that high floor with a low ceiling off the tee. You want to throw a straight shot, whether it's a forehand or a backhand or even a roller, as we've seen from Eagle. There's a lot of room on this open field if you just get your drive out of the gap and somewhere onto the field, you'll be just fine, leaving you with a pretty short and manageable approach. Most people are going hyzer around the right side of this tree, trying to take a small skip up to the basket and hopefully land on top of the shelf, as it is sloping significantly down on the other side of the basket.
Eagle blasting this power roller out into the open field.
What a beautiful shot. He's absolutely destroying hole 12 and 13 for the past couple of rounds. Väinö going with a more traditional shot, the forehand. That is turned over though, and he's likely gonna have a very difficult, if any, shot to the basket from there.
Mauri with the forehand. Quite okay to hit that hill as long as you skip, and he has. Getting it right out into the open, an absolutely fine spot to be. Will allow him 2 options to access the green, either forehand or backhand. If Ezra can just match that line, he'll be just fine, and this looks great as well.
Yep, beautiful height control there, keeping it less than 30 centimeters over the hillside. Everybody besides Väinö in a perfect spot, and looks like Väinö actually does have a chance with a huge hyzer. He could reach this hole. That is very high, needs a lot of power to reach it.
He's got potentially a putt. Looked to have crashed just short of that big guardian tree, but may be able to navigate under the low ceiling. Mauri here opting for the backhand entrance into this green. Has he brought it wide enough? A little bit early on the fade, but a very good speed control. Perfectly pin high just to the left. I think just within the circle, and he'll have a putt for birdie. Ezra in a very similar location. We'll see if he makes the adjustment to the width. This looks better.
Yep, very good looking angle here. Wow, almost skips it to the basket, but he has gone way long. There is no OB on the backside of the basket, but he's gonna have a far circle 2 putt. And look at this floaty putter approach from Eagle, having to slow it down to the slowest possible speed he can even throw from that massive drive. And that is gonna be his 7th birdie in a row.
Absolutely incredible. Väinö here playing for par despite the incredible upshot, opting to simply get out of this hole. No damage done. This is Ezra for birdie. Way uphill. Oh, and he just slams it in there. That's an incredible putt. Firing well long. Uphill circle 2. He has the power. He has the aim. We see another angle here.
With the signature hop/step putt from Ezra. That was great. You can see he's a little bit relieved maybe after the last couple of holes being a bit of a struggle for him. Mauri here. Strong putt to the weak side. Does not stay in.
Eagle as well with the birdie. 4 in a row on the back nine. I believe the 7th, you said, Elias, in a row consecutively.
Yep, finishing the front nine with 3 consecutive birdies. And pushing his score to 8 under. He's really going for that top 3, even at leading position. Going on to 14. This is a hole all of these guys need to give themselves at least a chance for the birdie on in this big final round situation. It's only 120 meters going downhill. Gap is pretty wide, you have to throw something straight with a strong right finish. Most players are going with either a flat to slight hyzer forehand, keeping it pretty low, or a higher shot backhand turnover, which a lot of the times ends up a little bit short. You need to really crush it up there if you want to be all the way to the basket. And looks like Eagle has actually missed the gap. That is a huge mistake, going 7 birdies in a row and missing one of the easier holes that he has seen in those past 7 holes.
Ezra as well, and that is a brutal kick out to the left, down the hill, into the thick rough. Quite a late release for him and not able to turn his disc over in time. We've seen 2 slightly errant shots. Väinö to make the correction now. And similar to Ezra, he's gone out very early to the left side, either not getting as much turn as he wanted or just a misrelease on the timing and angle. Mauri now with an opportunity. He's fallen a little bit behind the others on this chase card, but still putting together a respectable round and tournament performance. Is able to just barely skim through the gap, but does not complete the full flight into the hill. You mentioned hole 14, not one of the hardest. 2.59 average here, as none of our chase card is able to find the green off their tee shot. Ezra from a very tricky position.
Let's see how he can scramble on this one. Looks like pretty well he's inside the circle there. Just a medium range putt left. Let's see if any of the guys can actually run it, because there's the grass here is very grabby, and going uphill like these guys are going, I expect at least Eagle to be giving it a decent run here. Wow, and what a decent run was that, going over the top of the basket to the right, still staying close.
Eagle so good with the low speed discs and the angle control. Loves to give it that floaty chance. We see Mauri there working his way up to the green. And Väinö as well to secure this putt. Puts it in, takes the par. To great applause from the Finnish crowd. The home player for this chase card.
Yeah, this is kind of the first hole where we get back to the crowd from the backside holes of 12 and 13. And especially going into the last 4 holes, the crowd will be absolutely massive. One of the biggest crowds we have ever seen in disc golf history. It looks like everybody on the card gonna just take the par on this one and move on to the very difficult last 4 holes. And the difficulty starting right here on 15, starting off this legendary stretch that has made and ruined many tournaments in the past. 145 meters, par 3, downhill filled with OB. You have to get over this OB area between the fairway and the basket. Most people are trying to throw something straight and fade a little bit early, hopefully end up on the left side of the fairway. Because if you don't get that early fade, you're challenging the right side bushes and almost every time staying in the OB between the fairway and the basket.
Here's a look at that straight line that you mentioned. Eagle needing to find some late stability, but hitting that last thick green bush, unable to find his fade. Will have to play from the first side of the fairway. I do not believe it crossed anywhere up onto the island green. Ezra having one throw available to him as a read and going significantly more hyzer here. He might be testing left side out of bounds if he skips at all. And it settles nice and soft. Enough hyzer flip to land flat on the ground and not catch the edge. Ezra will be left with a birdie putt, currently at 28 under.
Very nice shot. And actually on this hole there was a bit of a left to right tailwind, which from the tailwind part you would think that the discs are more stable, but the discs were actually flipping over to the right quite easily. So you can see both Ezra and Väinö going with a pretty overstable disc to combat that. And working out, Väinö also, I believe, going to be outside the circle, but a chance for the birdie.
Mauri with a very similar line to Väinö and Ezra, but unfortunately does find the skip. You saw that to be the determining factor of whether or not they were able to stay safe. Both Ezra and Väinö finding no skip, sticking the green, and Mauri unfortunately does find the skip, ending OB, although within a reasonable putting range. This is Eagle from the far side, just looking to put this close. And he'll have a short bogey putt there on 15. This is Mauri for his par save after going OB left.
What a great par save this would be after pretty slow but consistent back nine. He has sailed it right, gonna take his first bogey off the back nine there. Väinö from outside the circle. Very interesting bid. He went with more of a floaty bid compared to his regular spin putt. And Ezra, great birdie. Possibly putting himself back into the mix, going to 29 under par. Let's take another look at that. Just barely catching onto the left side. Look at that, he's not quite sure, but it's in. And Connor, tell me some stats. How difficult is this hole playing with only the 72 most well-performed players in the field playing on this final round?
Considering the strength of the field, as you mentioned, hole 15 averaged 3.24, and a surprising 23% of the field birdied it. Roughly one player per card able to secure that. And for us here today, it is Ezra Aderhold. We had 35% pars and 36% bogeys. So more players bogeying it than taking par, and about 1 in 4 on the field able to secure the elusive 2.
Moving on to another just legendary hole, hole 16, par 4, 222 meters. You see the lines lining the fairway, they are actually bunker hazard lines. So if you are outside of the fairway, outside of the lines at any point during the hole, you will have to rethrow from your previous lie with no penalty. That sets up for some big disasters. We have seen them in the past, we will see them in the future. Especially on the approach. The drive is pretty simple. You're just throwing 100, 110, 120 meter hyzer. And from there, have a decision to make. What is your most comfortable shot to the green?
Yeah, and slightly windier today as well than in previous rounds. Ezra has not faded as much left as I'm sure he would have liked to, and that will leave him much greater distance towards the basket than the sweet spot could provide. We see Väinö here playing much higher and more hyzer as he hugs that line. That is perfectly placed. The closer you are to the left side OB, the less distance you have to that treacherous island green, and Väinö has navigated it to perfection, although with extremely small margins. It's an ideal spot to be. Eagle going much lower, similar to Ezra's line, but with significantly more overstable of a disc. He does find that final leftwards finish.
Yep, all of those players are set up to go for the island. Some further away, some closer. Let's see if Mauri can make this happen. Looks like he can. It's a regular drive there. Nothing too special from any of the guys. And next shot is really where the money is made. Huge gallery behind the basket. Thousands of people watching. And there was actually a bit of a headwind right-left here. So expecting these forehands to drop down and push slightly shorter.
And at a critical moment in the tournament, Ezra Aderhold with a pinpoint forehand approach. You see what that means to him, letting out a deep breath and I'm sure a sigh of relief. This exact shot, one of the most high-pressure situations in any tournament in Europe, hitting the island green of 16 at the Beast. A daunting, daunting task. Eagle as well, crashing it in and settling safe. 2 of our 4 players have made the island. We have Mauri Villmann now.
Going with a bit of a slower disc compared to Eagle's overstable fairway. And Mauri is unfortunately short. He's gonna have to throw again, so he's throwing his 3rd shot right now. Usually you can make the adjustment after your first when you know how you missed the island. For example, he was short, so he will put a little bit of extra power on this or go with a further flying disc. You can see actually changing the line a little bit, going higher and wider. And that is a great adjustment. Gonna walk away with just a par 4, avoiding bigger disasters on this one.
And I really like disking up and coming in on more of a spike hyzer angle. It will reduce the potential for ground play that could send you long into the left by spiking it in with more verticality. Oh, speaking of spiking it in, Väinö hopping the hay bales with that final spike skip. Wow, that is an incredibly fortunate result. And that leaves him with this putt here now, a chance at birdie.
Scary putt with the bunker behind. And he has just barely stayed inside of the island. So easy par for Väinö there. I'm sure he's feeling a little bit weird about that par, getting the hop over the hay bales. But well done with the cleanup and eagle. Very important birdie here. Going to be a very important birdie for Ezra as well. Both of them pushing their score to 30 under par. Once again going to be in contention for the top 3 and even for the win going into the last final 2 holes.
No doubt. I believe coming into hole 16, if they were to receive that birdie, it would put them in that 3rd to 2nd place spot with very few strokes on either side. They're going to be making the final push. Only 2 holes remaining of your European Open 2023, and the first is hole 17. What do we have, Elias?
Hole 17. What a difficult hole 17. Par 3, 140 meters going down the hill, with the slope from right to left getting more and more severe as we approach the basket. OB on the left is often found, especially by backhand shots that are fading too early to the left. Most people either going with a huge forehand over the left side or a straight backhand.
Ezra with the power forehand hyzer, not quite getting it to flat and pushing the distance, but that strong finish to the right side into the hill, ensuring that there's not too much damage done. We will see Eagle once again push this turnover mid-range backhand. He goes very high hyzer release and gets that slow drifting turn, although that is a lot of hyzer angle. We'll see if this has enough turn to stay safe, even an ace run, but oh, just sneaking OB. He'll be left with a very makeable putt for his par save, though. What a line, and almost rang it up. We'll see Väinö also go backhand here. We'll look to have a little bit more turn than Eagle found.
Also going with the mid-range here, and he's got the turn, but he needs some fade on the other side. He's got it, but that is a very scary putt from 13 meters going directly towards OB. Let's see if Mauri can reach this with a forehand. It's an absolute smash if you want to get all the way to the basket with that high forehand. And
especially on a full hyzer, that one angle shot would be huge distance. The best forehands that we see really get it out to flat or hit a soft flex with a more overstable disc to push the distance. But any amount of turn to the left with the forehand could bring trouble into play. So the one angle hyzer ensuring your safety and bounds, but leaving you with this long putt here as Ezra almost connects. Stays safe, will be left with about 6 or 7 for his par. We'll see Mauri now also facing that OB with the downhill putt just over the top. No lack of confidence there.
Yep, and Väinö here playing for position. He knows he's not playing for the win of the tournament at this point. Opts to just take the smart par there, move on to the final hole. Mauri as well, having a bit of a slow back nine here, being even par through the back, but gets the par. An eagle here, important par save to stay in the mix, and he does not. That's a huge miss. We have seen him make so many great putts throughout the round. Hasn't really missed after the first few holes.
Yeah, very uncharacteristic. An amazing putt from Ezra there, especially considering the eagle was putting uphill away from the danger. For him to be so low was quite a surprise. Eagle takes the bogey. Ezra, Mauri, and Väinö, the pars, going into the final, hole 18. I have goosebumps, Elias. Tell us what we have
And
here.
Nice to hear, Connor. That is for good reason. It's an epic finishing hole. Some people have called it the video game hole because it is kind of straight out of from a video game. You see the OB line on the left, on the right, making this dogleg shape. Most people trying to land to the corner where the OB is starting to bend towards the right with either a forehand or a straight backhand, or eagle is actually going for a flex backhand from the right side. From the perfect drive you have a pretty technically simple approach, just a hyzer, but the OB is once again very tight, and thousands of Finnish disc golf fans and even international fans are watching you play. Ezra going for a pretty safe shot here, not a lot of distance in mind.
But absolutely no problem there. Playing to the right side fairway will allow him to go for a little bit of a shortcut gap, I believe, behind that last pine tree up to the green. Väinö playing with more understability on the left side, but you see the trust in his disc and the knowledge of his angles. Getting perfectly center fairway.
Mauri going with a forehand. Let's see how big he goes for. Looks like he's going for a big forehand. Maybe even around the corner. Does he have the distance? Not quite, but looks like he's on the line. Might have actually stayed safe. An eagle changing up his play. He was going with that very overstable splice on a flex shot down the right side. Now going with the mid-range down the left, and that is a good result. Very interesting to switch the game plan for the final round.
And on the final hole of the tournament, to throw a shot that, even if he had practiced it, may not have been his tournament shot in previous rounds. And he's had good success as far as I remember on this hole with his older game plan, so very surprising to see. This shot very important now. Eagle up the hill, almost ringing it up and settling by the branches. A really nice shot from way down the hill. That was crushed. And he'll have a short look for his birdie putt. Väinö Mäkelä, the final hole of the beast here. This looks really nice. It has a good speed and width, a great skip, and it is nearly perfection, getting to bullseye's edge to the applause of the crowd. They love what they see. An amazing enthusiasm for good disc golf here in Finland.
What a great shot from Väinö, and he's going for that top 10 finish. Ezra here, super important shot. He has spiked it inside of the bullseye. Incredible shot there, solidifying his score to 31 under. And he's gonna put a lot of pressure on the lead card to possibly even birdie this final hole.
Oh, Mauri, Villmann going the rare forehand on hole 18, hitting that flex up the hill and even flashing the chains there for a second. You heard the excitement of the crowd seeing that disc come in, and as a result from running it, this is what he's left with now. Very awkward stance. Stradler. God, that's a good birdie. Look at that. From that stance, that composure, forehand. I wonder how many forehand birdies there were on 18. That could very well be the only one of the day.
Yeah, I might as well think it's the only one. Nobody even trying to go for the forehand approach. Let's see if Väinö can finish off with a birdie here. Of course he can. In front of the Finnish gallery. A lot of love, even a wave from some of the young fans. What an incredible moment here.
And a great performance for Väinö. Ending at 25 under. This is Eagle McMahon for birdie to end at 30 under par. Very healthy, and the adjustment of his game plan paid off for him.
Yep, in a big moment. I'm talking about big moments. Ezra Aderhold. What a great birdie to finish, going 9 under on the round. We will have to see if that's enough to push the lead for this final round. What a great showing from both Ezra and Eagle, and huge respect to Väinö and Mauri as well in front of the European crowd.
Of course, just the excitement of the moment, some incredible performances from our chase card. As we take a look at the top 10 standings, we see where that left them. Corey Ellis, the solo leader at 33 under. Kyle, 1 stroke behind him. Ezra Aderhold from our card, 1 stroke behind them, securing solo 3rd. Eagle worked his way into a tied 4th place with Calvin Heimberg. And what a tournament. The Beast never fails to bring incredible excitement, incredible players to the location, and some incredible disc golf to you. If you enjoyed this coverage and would like to support us, you can like, comment, subscribe, or check out the MDG Patreon. We appreciate all of you for joining us for this amazing event, and we'll catch you at the next one. Elias, I'll see you there.